Been roughly 2 weeks since they sat down and talked. Logan claimed he observed everything by being home the most. He worked part-time at a bookstore and spent the rest of his time on the computer, doing some kind of coding and debugging most of the time. He tried explaining, but he had a tendency to go off on tangents, and they had gotten off topic quickly. Logan promised that he didn't use his powers, not even for simple things if he could help it. He calmed them down, promising he had never read their minds since they had moved in, and promised he did not have plans to do so in the future. Mostly to settle down Virgil, who seemed the most anxious and upset at the news of his ability. Patton admitted he never really used his at all until he had moved out a few years ago, but mostly just made 1 or 2 copies to help with chores or to keep him company when things got too quiet. He had mentioned he was usually careful until his slip up with Virgil. Roman had a problem with using his subconsciously and not being aware of it. His phone never seemed to lose a charge when he was using it, and sometimes he forgot to plug things in before using them. He also had the problem of constantly being a source of static shock and static cling. Nothing too bad, but after admitting this, Virgil had bought a pack of balloons and Roman had woken up to a dozen balloons clung to him and a snickering Virgil taking photos. Virgil had stated he never used his powers out of fear something might go wrong, but if he was about to miss a bus or a train or was about to be late for an appointment, he didn't see the harm in stopping time for a bit just so he didn't have to worry. That got a chuckle out of Roman, who was amused by the prospect of such a strong power being used to help Virgil to get to work on time at the craft store in case he slept in too late. With the secrets out in the open, they seemed to be more relaxed around one another. Becoming closer friends than the first 3 months or so they had lived together. Patton could be found cleaning the living room or cooking, while he was also at work as a library assistant, a job he found ironic Logan didn't have. Organizing catalogs and working with the computers was up his alley, but Logan much preferred the time he had at home, working on small projects and reading, though he never explained what he was ever doing past the first time they had asked. They were too afraid of the confusing answers they would get again. Although Patton's favorite part of the job was when students would come in from school, or when they had nights where he and the librarian read children's books to the younger kids. Roman had admitted he had been laid off from a comfy desk job about a year or so ago, and hadn't found decent work since, resulting in an embarrassing job he refused to talk about, besides venting about coworkers with as few details as possible. All they knew was that he also worked at the local theater, and his other job involved him acting as well, though those were all the details he ever gave. Weeknights where everything lined up and they could gather around and talk happened once in a while. But instead of hiding away, they quickly became family nights, as Patton called them. They would sit around and talk, just relaxing and having dinner. Patton had the most experience cooking something that hadn't been pre-frozen, and had started teaching them the basics and having them explore the world outside of pizza and pasta. Currently gathered in the living room, Patton and Roman shared the couch. Logan sat in the recliner with a book currently open but placed face down onto her armrest, and Virgil sat on the floor between the couch and the coffee table they had. Dinner had been loud and they had all ventured over to the living room some time ago. Roman pulled out a bottle of wine he had gotten as a housewarming gift and had shared it, but only Virgil had taken him up on the offer. It was cheap and Virgil was nursing it, mostly just swirling it around the cheap glass he had. Roman used an actual wine glass, the only one they had owned.
I'm telling you, I could just freeze time and follow you, and you would never know.
I just don't want you distracting me while I work. Besides, you wouldn't dare. It'd be a massive waste of your... I was going to say energy. Wipe that smile off your face.
Sure you were.
Now kids, no need to fight.
Aw, but Dad...
No need to whine, kiddo.
Patton, please. Your humor leaves much to be desired.
I don't know. He's teaching us to cook and he speaks in dad jokes. Seems like he's the dad of the house to me. I have work in the morning, so I'm going to hit the hay.
It's a waste of wine if you don't actually drink it.
Well, tell your coworker to give you better wine next time.
I'll do the dishes tonight, Patton, since you and Virgil cooked dinner.
I have a project to finish, so I'm afraid I will be heading out as well.
Wait, I had a question. Do you think maybe,
Patton, we have all gotten closer these last few weeks. If you are bothered by something, I will hear you out.
Do you think your mind-reading ability is due to your psychic whatever, or the other way around?
Psychokinesis, Patton. It is also referred to as telekinesis, if that helps you. That is an astute observation, though. Through my personal experiences and research, I believe you may be correct.
I am? Oh, I knew it! Oh, that helps to prove my theory more! See, I think our powers have a secondary side effect I didn't realize until last week when we were talking.
Oh. Well, that is a possibility I hadn't given much thought. I'd love to talk more in depth about this. You work late tomorrow, correct? Perhaps we can talk during lunch before you leave.
I have to prepare the school field trip the next morning, so I'm closing, yeah. We can make lunch together. Oh, this is so exciting. Thanks, Logan. Good night. When Logan got to his room, he looked around the small desk and bed that occupied his living space. There wasn't much room for anything else, his closet filled with books and journals he had filled. He glanced down at the science fiction novel he had been reading before dinner. Normally he would be done with it by now, but he was quickly finding the companionship of his new roommates much more enjoyable than his love for reading had been. The next morning had brought a calmer energy to the apartment. Logan had stayed up slightly later than he normally would due to the social gathering that had distracted him the night before. Though ever punctual, he had gotten up as early as he normally would, happy to find Virgil had already made a pot of coffee on his way to work. He poured himself a cup, greeting Virgil, who mumbled back, already taking a big swig of his own coffee. Virgil didn't drink it often, he said it made him too jittery, but earlier shifts made it a requirement due to the late nights he always had on the computer.
I take it that by your state, you are opening the store today, Virgil?
The only people that need yarn at 9 a.m. are old ladies with nothing better to do. Thank goodness I stocked the store. I could not deal with people this early. Hey, do me a favor. If Patton asks, I ate breakfast. See ya.
Logan checked his time again, not surprised his roommate was leaving early for work. Virgil had a tendency to worry about most things, so he usually was at work super early, checking things multiple times and stressing over outcomes he wasn't prepared for. He had calmed down more than when he had arrived the first day, only arriving late to avoid confrontation with the others. Any improvement was good improvement, Logan reminded him. It wasn't much later that Patton showed up, and Logan knew Roman wasn't too far behind. He never slept in, claiming it was bad to oversleep and would ruin the whole point of beauty sleep. Soon after, Roman was off to the theater, to work on another possible show before heading out to his actual job afterward, leaving Logan and Patton alone. They settled back into the living room, Patton taking his usual spot at one end of the couch and Logan taking his recliner. Patton pulled out a few pieces of paper he had, covered in words and scribbled notes. So, I did a lot of research trying to figure stuff out. I had a few theories, so it's kind of messy because I just wrote things down as I had ideas, but... I have to take this. Sorry, Logan. Hi, Mom. Yeah, it's me.
It seemed that you started wondering the correlation of your abilities with outside circumstances and trying to make connections. You try and find similarities between your powers and things that happen that don't seem related.
Oh yeah, that's what I was doing. See, I was wondering, after Roman got all those balloons stuck to him, if our powers had side effects.
That is an interesting observation. You seem to have written something here about your own abilities?
So, okay, when I make my little Patton pals, I kind of feel how they feel, you know? Like, if they are in another room and they feel strongly about something, I can feel that, but I don't really understand why until after we become one again. So, okay, last week I had started wondering if I had side effects to my abilities. Then I started noticing that I could feel nervousness, but none of my little buddies were out. Then I noticed it was coming from Virgil. He was worried about something that happened at work, and I got him to talk about it. I mentioned me feeling the emotions of the copies I make. Gosh, I need a better word for them.
Patton.
Right, sorry. Anyway, Virgil said it was called being an empath. I think since I've never made my buddies appear with other people around, I had never noticed. I started wondering if Roman and Virgil had second lesser abilities as well, Besides Roman being so positively attractive. What do you think?
I must say, Patton, while your note-taking skills are lacking, you do have a solid hypothesis. This could be looked further into.
Really? I did good?
Yes, Patton, you did good, although technically speaking it would be, I did well. I am rather impressed. I don't know when I would have noticed.
I'm sure you would have eventually. We only just all started exploring what we can really do, but you seem to have a good hold on yours.
Well, I think this discussion should be continued with the others when they get home, so we may further investigate our hypotheses.
I've been able to figure out mine for the most part before moving in. Maybe we can help the others with their own, if they want.
Well, if they express interest in learning more about their abilities, a safe and supervised environment would be the best choice. Now, how about we cook something up for lunch before Virgil gets home?
You want to cook with me? Oh, I'd love to. Just let me put these back. It was around 2 p.m. when Virgil got home, having just missed Patton as he headed towards the library. These moments used to be some of Virgil's favorites. Logan was in his room and the place was empty and quiet. He could put on a show or a music for background noise and just relax without any worries. As he sat on the couch, he was aware of how much he had already preferred the noise of laughter and banter from his roommates. Roman had gotten home around 4 after a rough day. The theater was doing auditions on a day he couldn't get out of his dreaded job, and he wasn't sure he'd even be able to audition, let alone be in the play if he could. Then he got the short end of the straw afterward at his job. He worked in a themed restaurant as an actor who also waited on tables. Not the most fulfilling job, but until then, he looked for jobs elsewhere, while performing for customers and enjoying what he can. Unfortunately, there was the worst part of the job. The mascot. They drew straws to see who got stuck at the front of the store trying to get customers, where most people ignored him or made fun of him. He was good at banter, but some days people just gotta be mean. Today, Roman drew the short straw. He made it up the flight of stairs to his apartment, and he was greeted by Virgil, sitting on the couch watching something on TV and on his phone. Roman made no hesitation to the cheap wine they had the night before, and poured himself a generous glass, not being as slow at it as the night before. He finished it before pouring a second and making his way into the living room.
Watching anything interesting?
Not really. Whoa, bad day? That's a yes. Slow down there, buddy. You're gonna get a headache drinking cheap crud like that too fast.
How did I go from a nice, cushiony desk job to this in less than a year? If I have one more thing thrown at me, I will lose it!
No, you won't. You're too good for that. You're like a prince straight out of a Disney movie.
Thanks, Maleficent. I appreciate that.
No problem, Prince Philip.
Oh, fantastic.
Looks like the battery died.
My batteries don't just die, Virgil.
Maybe you need a charge, Princey.
That's rather odd.
Looks like someone lost their spark. You okay? You seem lost.
I can't make electricity. That's so strange. I've never had this happen.
Never say never. Sorry. Here, let me see your phone. Yeah, it's out of juice. How do you usually do that?
I just sort of have this fuzzy feeling, and I focus on it, and it happens. It's kind of fuzzier than normal now. Why is this so hard?
Well, when's the last time you used it?
I used it before I got home. The battery wasn't dead, and I checked my phone while walking up the stairs.
So the battery finally fizzled out?
It could have no battery, but as long as it's touching me, it'll stay on and keep a charge.
Maybe. Could it be the wine?
What? You think the wine shorted me out?
Shorted you and your phone out? Yeah. The charge could come from your brain and the alcohol dampened it.
Great. My super weakness is alcohol. Fantastic.
Well, that's rather interesting. You say you short-circuited because of the wine. That's something we need to test as well.
So, you're saying we should get different types of alcohol and see what short circuits Princey out?
Well, that is a viable test that we could run.
Oh, I am so in.
A quick trip to the store and Logan had already begun to regret his decision. They made their way up the stairs, headed towards the rooftop of the apartment building. The colder weather had made it a perfect place where they weren't likely to be bothered. Roman pushed open the door with Virgil trailing, both carrying the majority of the bags up to the roof, while Logan carried one with his journal firmly in the other hand.
Alright, Roman, are you still under the effects of the wine from earlier?
All good now.
Great. Now, drink up.
Yes, I would like to finish early. I have work in the morning.
I feel like I'm back in college.
You're not that much older than me. Stop acting like college was forever ago.
I'm older than all of you. I'll be observing and taking notes as we go along.
So why are you drinking? I thought you avoided the stuff.
No, I avoid caffeine. Besides, you bought it all. Who am I to pass up a little bit of free booze? Champagne or whiskey?
This is stupid. What's the point if I never drink?
Come on, Roman, it's for science. I thought you wanted to know how this stuff worked.
I do. I'd love to know how my powers work. Don't you?
Not really. Sure, there's stuff I don't understand, but if I never use them, then there's no worry, right?
I thought you did use your powers sometimes? I can never tell. It's not like I can see stopped time. You're not even a little curious? Never lost control of your powers?
Come on, Roman, light it up.
Interesting. It seems like we have the same physical outcome as with wine. Roman, how do you feel now?
Still too sober for this. It's like the fuzziness is spread around more and I can't get a good grip on it. That was hard. And now I have a headache. This was a bad idea. Why did I think this would be a good idea?
Do not worry, Roman. I believe the more inebriated you become, the less focus you have, which in turn means less control over the generation of your magnetic charge. The type of alcohol may increase the speed this happens, but I do not believe that the type matters.
So he gets too tipsy and can't generate a charge. Tough luck, Sparky.
Roman, you also wish to learn how to be in control of your powers more, did you not? If you would, I'd like to try something. You said you merely had an energy field about you, which could be problematic at times. Have you ever tried to disperse any of this energy before?
Well, yeah. As a kid, accidentally made my mom a living magnet for a week once. I usually just try to burn out what I have in small ways.
Do you think we could try having you knock over some cups off of the table to see if that would affect you?
I'm tipsy, a calculator watch. Not completely, but enough. I just told you I can't create anything well like this.
Then I apologize for this in advance. How do you feel now?
Am I? Did you make me sober?
Holy hell, you can do that? You'd be fun at parties, Lo.
I figured this knowledge would be unsettling for you.
I'm a beer and 2 shots of whiskey into the science lesson. I'm more amused than anything. You could just about drink any one.
That is not how it works, but I understand your point. Roman, would you like to give it a try?
I didn't know I could do that.
You missed, Emperor Palpatine.
I am not a villain. Honestly, I'd much rather be a superhero. It fits me more. Obviously.
Whatever you say, Static Shock.
Whoa! Okay. That's too easy. I'm almost afraid if I actually tried to let out as much power as I could.
Well, that's why you're practicing, isn't it? Patton and I both have a bit of a handle on what we can do through time and experience.
All I did was be a living battery for my parents. I do feel a little better, even after a few small bolts, like I'm not gonna shock the next person I touch.
About time. I was tired of you passing me in the halls and shocking me.
Oh, no. I can do that whenever I want.
I'll get you back for that.
I think that's enough for tonight. It's already getting too dark to continue. We can continue another day. For now, we should go see Patton before he begins to worry.
Hey Logan, would you zap my brain and sober me up if I keep drinking? I have work in the morning.
That is to be seen.
That's not a good idea. That's not even yours! You're much more relaxed when you're drinking.
Gee, I wonder why. You can carry the rest, right, Princey? World's already spinning for me. Thanks.
Roman thought back to how this began. His day was bad, yes. He just wanted to forget about it over a glass of wine. He did not expect a bonding moment on the roof with two of his roommates. Maybe he could convince Logan to leave Virgil as he is, as a punishment for making him carry everything back down on his own.